And I wanted to find out if any of you thought like Christians, because I keep challenging people who read the Bible and take it seriously to show me where Jesus prefers the lesser of evils. I've been looking for it. I've been looking for the Jesus-sanctioned lesser of evils argument. And unless we consider crucifixion the lesser of evils, I think that he was willing to endure just about anything in order to be true to what he knew to be the will of his Father God, what he knew to be truly right and good, what he knew to correspond to what he had been sent to do. Doesn't that recommend to us?
Yes.
That we ought to be looking for what's good? Didn't he say, seek ye first the kingdom?
Yes.
How can we seek the kingdom first when we're looking at the lesser of evil? You think that in God's kingdom we've got Lucifer on the throne ruling for a time? In a battle between that God's kingdom, elections are characterized by the choice between Satan and Beelzebub? Two sides of the same wicked coin? I don't think so, you know. Why do we let ourselves get into this situation? I'll tell you why. We let ourselves get into this situation because, and I know right here in Kentucky, you go down the list, and I'm not saying this to bad mouth anybody personally, but you go down the list over here, how many people can tell me with forthrightness that they think Trey Grayson is going to go to Washington and stand firm in defense of the life of the unborn, stand firm in defense of America's national sovereignty, make sure our borders are unequivocally defended and never surrendered, make sure that no compromise delivers this country's health care system or any other part of our economy over to socialism? How many of you really believe that to be the case? I doubt that a single one. Why is good enough? I think it's time we understood our nation is dying. Good enough is not good enough anymore. And I know Ron Paul. I have a lot of respect for him. I still consider him my friend. But on some things, he's wonderful. Like getting rid of the Federal Reserve and other things like this. Yes, go Ron. But then when he tells me that I'm somehow, or we're somehow, or America is somehow to blame because the nasty bad terrorists want to come over here and kill us, and if we only hadn't done such awful things to them, they wouldn't want to kill us all. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we did some terrible things to those folks in the Middle East, like freedom from colonialism by insisting that the colonial empire should give up their power. Letting them gouge us mercilessly so that they could build up massive oil wealth, which they are now using to fund the Islamic fundamentalists who produce the people from whom the terrorists are recruited. We really have done terrible things to those people. Ooh, terrible things. I don't know how we could think that they didn't have a reason to be coming over here, killing our children and destroying our property and trying to destroy our lives. I think that's nonsense, John.
Yes.
And I don't care who says it. I don't care whether they're Republican or they call themselves Constitution. I think that's nonsense. I won't buy it. And if we buy it and let it demoralize our defense of our liberty and our survival, then our country will be dead.
Yes.
On the basis of a lying falsehood about who we are and what we have done and what we serve. Have there been some American mistakes? Have there been some bad people profiteering in the world at the expense of, I'm sure. But I'll tell you this. I will take the track record of the United States in defense of liberty and dignity and justice and innocent life. I will take the track record of the American soldier going in different parts of the world trying to, when it wasn't even his land and when he get nothing for it but a grave, save other people from the scourge of tyrants they themselves had lifted up to power. Yeah, I'll take that track record any time over the track record of any nation in history. So you get down to the fall and you have a choice. You can have a choice, maybe if Rand Paul is the nominee for U.S. Senate, you have a choice between the Democrat who follows Obama's on your knees, apologizing to the world for how bad we are, Obama foreign policy, or you can have the Rand Paul policy, which basically points the finger of guilt at America, quietly justifying it. Oh yeah, Obama, we should be on our knees apologizing for all those bad things we did. Is that a choice?
No.
That looks to me like the lesser of evil. Well, I'm going to have to vote for a Republican because he's not so bad and he wants to abolish the Federal Reserve and do other good things. He's just willing to let our morale be utterly destroyed with lies about our history.
Yes.
This is not a good thing. Why are we letting it happen? So what I'm talking about is not an academic situation. It's the situation that will face you and every voter in the state of Kentucky as if they participate, if they are opposed in the Republican primary. You got to ask yourself, am I going to go in and let it happen one more time? Am I going to go in and set it up one more time so that I can have the excuse of saying, well, it was the lesser evil? See? It's not an excuse in the primary. There is no excuse for it at all anyway, but it's certainly not to be excused when somebody is standing firm for all of the things that as conservatives, as Americans, as people committed to the Constitution and safety of our country, as people committed to the justice for which our veterans have fought and so many have given their lives, when someone stands up with that background, when he articulates those positions with courage and without equivocation, when he comes from a place that you know stand as firm as Ronald Reagan did in the face of Washington's corruption and compromise and surrender, you have no one to blame but yourself if the lesser of evil triumphs once again, because good has been offered you, and you need to decide whether you're going to reject it or support what it represents. Well, that's what we need to be doing now. That's what we need to be doing. We can't be passive couch potato citizens anymore. No. Sitting there expecting that one of these talking heads is going to give us the lead we need for a good candidate. You do realize, don't you, that there is not a talking head on the air today that you can trust with the future of this country. Not one. Oh, well, what about Glenn Beck? What about this and that? Not one. Why do I say that? Because they're all fatally flawed. And you say, well, Glenn Beck that way, he's wonderful on some things. But I heard him the other day deliver himself of a rant against what he called the birthers. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so people who are stepping forward in large numbers now, by the way, all across the country, and they're not saying, oh, we don't think you need help, we don't think this. Most of the people I know who raise the issue about diversity are raising one simple question. Does it say that in the Constitution? Yes. If it's a requirement of the Constitution, should the evidence be produced to make sure it's being observed? Yes. Let's do it. Yes. That's simple common sense. These are people who respect the Constitution of the United States, want to see it observed. That's all. So when you go off on a tirade against such people, and you call them idiots, and you call them names, and you act as if they're some kind of fringe fanatic, you are basically saying that people who value the words of the Constitution and believe that they should be observed should now be driven with ridicule from the politics of the United States. Do you believe that? Well, if you believe that, then you've got to put a little bit of restraint and discernment and make sure you don't accept everything Glenn Beck tells you. And people hold up Sean Hannity. Oh, he's a big kid, this and that, he's pro-life and so on. And then I remember it in particular because he and I had several run-ins on his program about it. Sean Hannity was a big supporter of Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, if I was to lift up one person who probably typifies more than any other prominent figure in American life today, the very definition of rhino, right? It would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Pro-gay marriage, pro-abortion, fiscally irresponsible. I mean, this guy has it all, including a willingness to raise up Democrats to high positions in his administration, giving excuses with one side of his mouth while pretending he's going to serve America with the other. I'm telling you. And so when it came to a choice between a good, solid, pro-life conservative like McClintock back in that special election they held when Gray Davis got recalled, you'll explain to me, won't you, why Sean Hannity preferred the rhino to the conservative? Because I don't understand it. And you'll say, well, you should forget that. Yeah, they want me to forget a lot of stuff. That's right. They want us to forget a good many things. They want us me to forget that it was under the leadership of a Republican-controlled Congress that we got the biggest deficits in the history of our nation until we let Obama slip through the door. They want me to forget that. They want me to forget that it was Republican leaders who still to this day will stand up and pretend that we should all be gung-ho behind amnesty and everything else that destroys the demographic sovereignty of our people. I cannot forget it, and neither should you. It is time that we remember their faults, remember their misdeeds, and send to Washington